Talktainment Radio Worldwide Sound. Talktainmentradio.com. We give you a reason to come. The world's greatest radio. We give you a reason to stay. Radio, the way it should be heard. You got the power.
The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guest and not necessarily those of TalkTainmentRadio.com, the management, the staff, or K&E World Network, LLC.
This is the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. Radio, the way it should be heard. And now, Mr. Neely Fuller.
If you do not understand white supremacy, which is racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Only confuse you. Only confuse you.
Good morning. Good morning wherever you are. And welcome to TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio, and you're in touch with the Compensatory Concept. I'm your host, Mr. Bobby, and this is radio the way it should be heard. And we do thank you for listening. If you would like to get in contact with the show, you can do so by calling 1-877-932-9766, and we will do our best to get you on. Mind you, we have two people from last week who indicated that they would call in, so if they do, we will put them first in the line. Galen has their names and where they're coming from, so we can have them. You can also Gmail me at 7mrbobby@gmail.com, and I will try my best to read it, particularly if you say who you are. Say you are. Some people, I understand, have not been forthright, claiming to be somebody when they're really not, and there's only so much vetting that we can do. But anyway, be that as it may, we will do our best to get you on. Our guest is a man who everybody just about knows, and he is my friend, and I hope I'm his friend, and that is Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr. How are you, Mr. Fuller?
I'm still learning.
You are still learning. Very, very good. On your book, The United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept, a textbook workbook for thought, speech, and or action for victims of racism, which is white supremacy, a person called me or emailed me last week, and we're trying to get the book. And, of course, I think you indicated last week that the book will not be available until June, maybe the first week in June or somewhere around in there. And she asked me if, when that happens, could she use PayPal to pay for the book? And I told her I didn't know, but I would get back with you on that.
Well, I would rather for people to wait until June before they do any money transactions. That kind of keeps everything straight.
Yes, sir.
And therefore, it makes it more convenient for everybody. And when it comes to any money matters, I like to be very accurate and see to it that everybody gets their product and that there's no mix-up and no confusion.
Okay.
Money is tight. Money is important, and I think that I should always see to it as best I can with the interactions that I have with the people that I work with and whatnot, that people get their product. And so there's no mix-up and no confusion.
Okay.
Confusion is the enemy of just about everything that has to do with constructive results.
Yes, sir. So we definitely don't want that.
Right.
Okay. Before we take our phone calls and read any of our Gmails, has there been a pressing subject that you would like to address before we go ahead on?
Well, I'd like to address basically the interaction between non-white people, black, brown, red, yellow, whatnot, with each other, and why is such amount of chaos, a huge amount of chaos, animosity, killing all over the world among the people who are classified as non-white, and a lack of constructive activity. And it's because they do not have a quality relationship with each other. And the reason they don't have a quality relationship with each other, in my opinion, based on the evidence, is because of the system of white supremacy. And the system of white supremacy is set up to cause these things among non-white people. It also is predicated on the proposition that there's not supposed to be a quality relationship between white people and non-white people. Black people and white people are not supposed to have a quality relationship. And we don't have a quality relationship in aggregate. That's worldwide. Mm-hmm. There's no quality relationship between white people and black people, you might say, to state it in a concise fashion. It's not a quality relationship. It's a tragic arrangement. And this tragic arrangement consists of what? How would you describe it if you were going to describe it in detail? In all of the 9 areas of activity: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. What is the arrangement between black people and white people on this planet here in 2015? It is a non-quality relationship, non-quality in the form of a tragic arrangement, and I call it the 3 T's. It's the basic arrangement between the people is what you have basically is this tragic arrangement called tacky, mm-hmm. trashy, terroristic. I call it the 3 T's. It's tacky. If you just watch the interaction between white people and black people on a day-to-day level, wherever they happen to be, whether it's in economics, in education, this tragic arrangement consists of those 3 T's, one or the other, or all 3.
Yes, sir.
Tacky. What do I mean by tacky? What do I mean by tacky? And it's described in the word guide. It means it's something not normal about it. It's something not that this evenly flows. I mean, people putting on a false face, people talking in a manner to each other as if it's kind of stilted, or if it's something missing in it, a lack of sincerity, mm-hmm. a lack of honesty, a lack of people saying exactly what's on their minds and whatnot. Everybody kind of, you might say, shadowboxing with each other on a day-to-day basis.
Yes, sir.
It's a sort of an uneasiness there, mm-hmm. Minute by minute. Under the so-called best of circumstances. And then if you try to improve on the tackiness, then what happens? It gets trashy. Really, it starts off with laughter and whatnot, and jokes that are not funny, and then some jokes that people pretend that they're funny when they're not, mm-hmm. and then little remarks and whatnot, little chit-chat type things, and then the next thing you know, it degenerates into something that's absolutely trashy.
Yes, sir.
It gets vulgar. I mean, like the office parties between black people and white people. They're actually vulgar. Many of them, not all of them, but too many of them. Just absolute trash. I mean, nothing constructive about it at all. I mean, they expect black people to be the entertainment committee, and the black people go overboard with it, not knowing exactly how to act or what to do or what to say. And they start acting silly and stupid and trashy. And so I say that until we can get a quality relationship, we need to just abolish them altogether, just not have them. And then if you try to improve on the trashiness, then it gets terroristic. Now this is, I call it the 3 T's, tacky, trashy, terroristic. This is the basic interaction between white people and black people in the system of white supremacy. And the umbrella title for this is the tragic arrangement. Now, what we need is a quality relationship. And what would that consist of? First of all, not lying to each other and not concealing constructive information. that would mostly be on the part of the white people.
Number two?
Yes. Those are the first two.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. It's a whole long list of what would make a quality relationship.
Yes.
I mean, it's a very, and that list would be ongoing.
Okay.
See what I mean?
And if there was a third one, and there is a third one, what would that be?
No, I'm saying, see, in a quality relationship, you don't have a limit.
Okay.
You don't have the three T's.
Yes, okay.
Right.
Right.
Or the quality relationship has never been established.
That's right. Unlimited.
All we really have now is just this tacky, tragic arrangement that consists of the three T's. It doesn't get outside of that. It's either tacky, or it's trashy, or it's terroristic.
Trashy.
It's going to be one of those three. I don't care where in the world you go. I mean, white people and black people on a cruise. I mean, it's just tacky.
Tacky.
I mean, it doesn't get any better than tacky.
Tacky, trashy, and terroristic.
Yeah, if they try to improve on the tackiness, just watch it now. It gets trashy. I mean, everybody's standing around with a cocktail in their hand and whatnot. Now, and they're just kind of, sparring with each other. I mean, and everybody acting phony and whatnot. And then if they say, well, this arrangement is kind of tacky, so let's kind of liven it up. Let's try to get some life in it. Let's not be phony with each other. I mean, we're white people and we're black people, but we're all people. So let's just relax. And, the minute they start relaxing, it gets trashy.
Yes.
Really. If you just watch it. And then if they try to improve on the trashiness, it gets terroristic, meaning somebody starts getting on somebody's nerves. And then it escalates from there, might even escalate into some type of violence. All right? Now, this three T's, tacky, trashy, and terroristic, also spills over into the way black people interact with each other. And so what you have is just a world that's all totally messed up when it comes to relationships.
Okay.
In every area of activity, on account of we don't have a quality relationship nowhere.
Okay. That's what we're going to be dealing with today. I'd like to apologize for if there are any, I understand there's supposed to be some major interruptions to today's show. Speaking about the commercials for Talktainment Radio keep on interrupting a live show, and it's happening almost every 5 to 10 minutes. Do you know anything about that, Galen? Okay. Hopefully they got that straightened out, and we'll see. Thank you for that. Thank you for that email. Yeah, I was getting ready to do that. Thank you. Okay. You're listening to the compensatory concept, heard exclusively on TalktainmentRadio.com. And our guest, as usual, is the author of the United Independent Compensatory Code Concept System, a textbook workbook for thought, speech, and or action for victims of racism, Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr. We're going to take some calls right now. What line, Galen? Line number 1. You are now on the radio with Neely Fuller, Jr. What is your question? You can be heard.
Greetings, Mr. Bobby. Greetings, Mr. Fuller. How are you?
Okay.
My question to Mr. Fuller is, under the system of white supremacy in the 1700s, was it possible to have a black slave owner?
Is it, under the system of white supremacy, is it possible to have a black
slave owner? Did you say in the 1600s?
Yeah, 1700s.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I don't know that much about history, but I imagine so. Because among the people who are called Indians, the white supremacists made the decision that Indians could have slaves, black slaves. So the whole history of particularly the state of Oklahoma is about Indians who, quote, unquote, owned slaves. Now, how that all played out, how it got started, I don't know the details of it. I've read not extensively on it, but substantially. And the picture seems to be that, as always, the white supremacists make the determination about what the status of people are going to be if people have color in their skins. So they would very easily, I imagine, some places there were white supremacists who made the decision that a black person could own another black person as a slave. But it'd be the white supremacists who made that decision.
Mm-hmm.
That's what white supremacy means. They make all the major decisions. Now, non-white people can make minor decisions. That's why we are called minorities all over the world. All right? By whom? By the white supremacists. You're in a minor position. We are in a major position. We are supreme. So we always tell you what to do. We tell who's going to have slaves, who's going to have servants, what the status is going to be on any given day in any area of activity between anybody who's white and non-white, and what the status is going to be between non-white people themselves. How that's all going to play out. What kind of so-called governments you're going to have, which are really not governments, because the white supremacists are the only real government when it comes to non-white people on the planet. It's called a system of white supremacy. That's the only real government anywhere on the planet. So in answer to the question, yes, black people probably enslaved other black people under the behest of the white supremacists, under the directorship.
Yes, that information, by the way, is correct, because when I checked it out in the book by Chancellor Williams called The Destruction of the Black Civilization, he indicated that was, in fact, some of the case in some of the instances. So, yes, you are correct, Mr. Fuller. Before I let you go, caller, is there any other question you'd like to ask Mr. Fuller before we go?
Just real quick, random. I just never heard Mr. Fuller say thank you or you're welcome. I know but I know he has a rhyme and a reason for everything. So I was just trying to see his rhyme and reason for that.
The rhyme and reason that he doesn't say thank you?
Or you're welcome. Yeah,
or you're welcome.
Never heard him say.
Oh, okay. Mr. Fuller, you want to address that before we go on?
Oh, if a person wants me to say thank you or you're welcome, I'll say that. I mean, I just haven't figured where I'm supposed, when I'm supposed to say it. I'm on the air, and I don't know exactly, when or under what circumstances I'm supposed to say thank you or you're welcome. But I will say it at any place where it's scripted for me to say so. Mm-hmm. I mean, I want to always be courteous. That comes under one of the 10 stops,
Okay.
Stop being discourteous. I do not want to be discourteous at any time, under any circumstance. I want to be the most courteous person on the planet, if I possibly can be. But I have to know what I have to do to affirm that I'm being courteous. So if saying thank you or you're welcome, I will certainly say that. But I have to know, I didn't have any idea of when I'm supposed to say it.
Okay.
Do you have any idea? I mean,
he's gone now.
Do you have any idea on this program when I'm supposed to say?
I haven't. I can't recall one offhand, but there might be a situation, and if there is, then I will point that out.
Where's the best way for me to say that?
Yeah.
I mean, when I come on the air, I'm asked a question.
Yes.
So I would just say thank you in advance for all of the people. Yes, for all of the people who are calling in. I will say thank you, and I will say you're welcome. You're always welcome to call in, and I thank you for calling in, and I thank you for your opinions. Yes. Even when they are absolutely against whatever opinion or whatever information I'm trying to convey.
I think that would cover it all.
I want to thank everybody out there, including the people that don't call in. I want to thank them too.
Everybody gets thanked today.
Yes.
Okay.
Not only today, every day.
Every day. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Since we're dealing in the now, let's go to line number, what is it? Is that 2, Galen? Okay, line number 2, you are now on with Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr. I do apologize for that background noise. We're working on that problem. Okay, what is your question for Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr.?
Yes, good morning. My question for Mr. Fuller is there any young person out there that you admire that's doing a good job in bringing to light white supremacy?
Is any person out there that I admire?
I think she said young person.
A black person.
Okay.
Oh, I don't like. Well, I usually don't look at counter racism in that way of making it personalized as such. I just simply say anyone who is trying to do anything to replace the system of racism with the system of justice is doing what they are supposed to be doing. And it's not for me to say that I admire it or that I don't admire it. It's something that I take the position that everybody's supposed to be doing. And I don't hold it against the people who are not doing it. It's just that I'm saying that we're supposed to be on this planet to solve problems. I have concluded that racism is the biggest problem on the planet. So anybody who can say anything or do anything at any given moment, just for a few minutes, that's going to help to replace the system of racism, which is white supremacy, with the system of justice and bring about peace on the planet, I say, well, that's what they should be doing. And even if they're not doing it, we all should be doing it. Nobody is doing enough. So it's not like an admiration contest. It's just that everything is all messed up, and we're all a part of the mess. So anybody who can just spend 5 minutes trying to straighten out the mess, I mean, everybody should try to help them, or if they can, or do what they can as individuals to make it the way that it ought to be. Because nothing on the planet in their interaction between people is the way that it ought to be. And anybody who is doing anything to make things the way that they should be, a planet of peace and justice and correctness, should be doing so. And I never think about it from the standpoint of whom to admire or whom to not admire. Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay. All right, caller, before I let you go, do you have another question or comment for Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr.?
Yes. How has white supremacy affected you? Have they tried to stop you in any way to get your message across?
Okay, thank you for your call.
Well, not to my knowledge, I haven't been singled out, but the white supremacists are busy every day getting in the way of everybody who's trying to eliminate it. This is why it hasn't been eliminated. So the only thing they do, it's a business with them, so they just look at how business is doing. That's what they do every day. When they wake up and look at their charts and whatnot, just like looking at a business chart, they say, well, how are we doing? They say, well, we're still in business, and business is fine. I mean, we have these non-white people running around in circles in chaos. I mean, hungry, can't feed themselves and whatnot, don't have jobs, they don't have this, they don't have that. That's what we set it up for them not to have anything that's of any constructive value, keep them doing non-constructive things in all 9 areas of activity, never letting them get any kind of way of thinking or get together or just as individuals do anything that's going to really free them from the system of white supremacy. And as long as we have that, we don't have to interfere with anything. Just business as usual. It's only when some of them seem to be effective that we will pay attention to them. They don't really care what Neely Fuller does, as long as nobody's paying any attention and nothing is changing. See, when the white supremacists look out, they go by the bottom line. Are we still in business or not? And is business still up to par, where we've got a firm grip on these non-white people all over the world? That's their question.
Okay.
And if the answer is yes, We don't have to pay any attention to Neely Fuller or any of the rest of these people running around here talking about this and that. Who are they?
Yes.
We don't care.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Again, thank you for your call, and to all the callers from both Neely Fuller Jr. and myself, thank you for listening. Okay, let's go to caller number 3, line number 3. You are now on with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. What is your question?
Well, I just want to make a comment, brother.
Okay.
And I want to thank you and Mr. Fuller for taking this call. And first, I want to tell you all this is the hottest hour on earth. Now, I want to ask you a quick question, you and Mr. Fuller. What's the biggest trick the devil ever played?
Mr. Fuller?
The biggest trick that the devil ever played? I don't know.
Convincing the world that he didn't exist.
Yeah, I've heard people say that, and I think that's
and the devil is white supremacy, and a lot of people, no matter what you said, it's still a lot of people don't believe that white supremacy exists and that it is in practice. Now, genocide has been practiced on us since we were enslaved and brought to these wildernesses of North America. There's been a constant, systematic genocide on us. That's the lynching, law enforcement, burning our towns, killing all our inventions, making sure we do not progress no further than they want us to. That's systematic genocide. Now, I predict that systematic genocide that they have on us, it has to go into an all-out extermination of us. Because that systematic genocide is going to be went as far as they wanted to play it. Now, that all-out extermination I see is going to start with what we see going on right now in this country. This all-out shooting down of young black people. This lawlessness. Lawlessness exemplifies anarchy.
Okay.
They're going to use the anarchy to create chaos all over the country.
Okay, let me have Mr. Fuller respond to some of that statement. Mr. Fuller?
Well, like I'm required to do, when somebody makes statements about racism, I always say, listen to the statements that are made and look for the truth in it and look for what you can do with that truth that you learn if the truth is being spoken. Always listen to anybody who's saying anything about solving the race problem and evaluate it and try to do what you can to solve the race problem using what you have evaluated, if it is of any value to you at all.
Your logic. Yes. You mentioned that you were getting ready to mention that you had heard before that from someone or some source that the devil was the excuse me, the greatest trick ever played. You were getting ready to mention something about that. Did you've heard something like that? No,
I've heard that expression.
Okay.
Right. I have heard that expression.
Okay.
But I was asked, but the question was directed to me, and so I said I didn't know.
Okay.
In answer to the question, but I have heard the expression. Right.
Okay. Queen Cretia, thank you for your comment, and we will try to do better on that. TalkTainmentradio.com, and by the way, thank you, caller number 3. TalkTainmentradio.com. Check us out on WCRS-FM, 98.3 Wednesday and Sunday evenings, and blogs, podcasts are available. Download TalkTainmentradio.com app to your cell or tablet. We go where you go. Radio the way it should be heard. Stay right there. A couple of e-blasts and more of your phone calls, all that coming up next on the compensatory concept, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com.
TalkTainmentRadio.com is the premier internet radio platform offering 40-plus talk radio-style programs professionally produced, optimized for online distribution, featuring Columbus, Ohio on-air personalities. TalkTimeRadio.com offers listeners diverse programming options covering topics such as arts and culture, love, life and relationships, technology, religion, paranormal activities, local and national politics, women's issues, alongside health and wellness. Listeners can access their favorite TalkTimeRadio.com programs free of cost through the website. Download the TTR app to your cell phone and you can take us wherever you go. We have programs on demand to fit your schedule through our podcast. The address is TalkTainmentRadio.com.
LaGlory's Soul Food Cafe, a taste of Southern classic, located at 3350 Allegheny Avenue in Columbus, Ohio. They've got everything you need. The famous LaGlory burger, chicken and waffles, shrimp and grits, walleye, perch, and whiting, and fish dinners, all Southern style food.
Oh boy, what good eating!
LaGlory's Soul Food Cafe, a taste of Southern classic, located at 3350 Allegheny Avenue, Columbus, Ohio. Be sure to tell them that All in Our Family sent you, and you will receive an extra side dish with each meal. LaGlory's Soul Food Cafe, a taste of Southern classic, located at 3350 Allegheny Avenue, Columbus, Ohio. For carry-out, call 614-237-5844. Get the menu at LaGlory'sCafe.com. Open 7 days a week.
For the best eating in town.
Goodwill is a global social services enterprise and the leading nonprofit provider of job training programs and career services in the United States and Canada. To pay for its program, Goodwill sells donated clothes and other household items in more than 2,700 stores and online at shopgoodwill.com. Goodwill uses the revenue earned from these sales to fund job training, employment placement services, and other community programs. The goal of the campaign is to increase goods donations to Goodwill, inspire an emotional connection to the Goodwill brand, and to elevate preference for Goodwill.
We can give you a new heart.
We can help you walk again.
We can perform brain surgery.
We can treat a sore throat.
We can bring life into the world.
We can work so many miracles. But the one thing we cannot do is read your mind.
When you communicate with your doctor,
when you ask us more questions,
you reduce your risk of suffering a medical mistake.
Tens of thousands of lives are lost every year due to medical mistakes.
The healthcare community is working on it, but you can help.
Please, open up. Ask more questions.
What are the side effects?
When should I expect my test results?
Will this medication interact with my other prescriptions?
We can't answer if you don't ask.
Help reduce your risk.
Questions are the answer.
Learn the 10 questions you must ask. Visit www.ahrq.gov. This message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality, and the Ad Council.
Supporting minority education. I'm Sean Booker, dammit, from The Melting Pot. I'm here to tell you that as the mother of a high school senior, I know due to financial circumstances, many of America's deserving minority students do not have access to a college education. Since 1944, the United Negro College Fund has sought to provide one. Since 1972, the beginning of this campaign, UNCF has helped more than 300,000 talented students earn a college degree. I'm Sean Booker, dammit. Give a helping hand.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him opening his own clothing store at the age of 18? 1 in 138,000. Excited to be a part of pop culture, he packed for the big city. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. I encourage you to learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Early diagnosis can make a lifetime of difference.
Brought to you by Autism Speaks, the Ad Council, and TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio.
The United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept by Neely Fuller is considered as one of the substantial and basic books for understanding and effectively countering racism. Neely Fuller will turn upside down everything you've heard and everything you think you know about racism and how it works Call area code 202-484-5461. 202-484-5461.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Go ahead. Make my day.
You got the power.
Alrighty, you are back for a second slice of the action. This is TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. That's radio the way it should be heard. This is Mr. Bobby, and you are listening to Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. on the compensatory concept, and we're basically talking about interactions between the races, the shoulds and the should not do. Because a lot of it, as Mr. Fuller pointed out earlier, was tacky, trashy, and terroristic. All right, let's see. Before we go to the phone lines, let's take an email. It says, Mr. Fuller, my question is from Winston. My question is in relation to a code. One of my codes in the activity of entertainment is to not follow any media that is demeaning or promotes dysfunctional, non-constructive behavior, especially against non-white people. Why? Because I find it damaging to my self-esteem and self-image. This is just one of the many codes I have been writing, refining, and doing as an individual in all 9 areas of activity, and wanted to know, was I on the right track in terms of creating and codification?
Yes, everyone. Code just means a way of getting things done. That's any code. An electrical code, a plumbing code, a fire code. People came up with the word codes not so much to think in terms of some type of secrecy, a secret society or something like that, or a social group, but the word code just is a very broad word. It can be used for a number of things, but basically it has to do with getting things done in the most efficient manner.
Okay.
And that's all people have to do. Everything should be codified.
Okay.
I mean, if you're going to lunch, you codify the time you're going to lunch. And not only that, you codify what you're going to eat at lunch. Because it's got to be in one of 2 categories, constructive, non-constructive.
That's it.
That's it. So you codify everything that you do so that you come up with the most constructive result. That's the key.
That's the key.
It's not complicated at all.
Okay.
Just everything that you do is going to be either constructive or non-constructive.
Okay.
Always keep in mind, just ask yourself this question. Is this thing that I'm fixing to do, is it going to produce a constructive result, or is it going to produce a non-constructive result?
That's it.
And the answer will jump right out at you.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Okay, and he also says this. Also, as an observation, I find that many whites and even non-whites don't know how to respond to my codified thought, speech, or actions. They become baffled or shut down all communication. Have you experienced this in your years of practicing your own code? Thank you, from Winston.
No.
Okay.
And the reason I don't is because I keep asking questions. See, all problems are solved through the process of questions and answers. If a person tells me that they are a little confused about what I'm saying, then that goes into the question mode. You stay in the question mode. What are you confused about? That's a question. I will ask the person that. I haven't encountered that because I usually try to explain myself, in such a way, explain whatever I'm thinking in such a way that the person understands the first time around. But if there's any indication that they don't understand or that they are confused or baffled, if you use that choice of words,
okay,
then I say, okay, what is it that I said that is confusing you? What part of what I said is confusing to you?
And then that way you can address it.
And that way I will address it.
Yes, sir.
See, in other words, we will go over it again, and I will say whatever I said in the first place in a different way. until the person is no longer confused, because you're never supposed to go away from any conversation with anybody about anything confused.
Okay.
That's a part of the code.
That's a part
Never
of the code.
walk away from a conversation confused, because that means that there was no point in having the conversation. If you walk away confused, that's the logic.
Mm-hmm.
The whole point of having a conversation is to deconfuse.
Deconfuse. Okay. Freedom Fighter, they're working on the problem. If you're still having some problems hearing it, some network or technical problem, management or the technicians are aware of it. So if you do hear things in this broadcast, now I can't hear them, but if you do hear them, then I apologize, for that, and we will try to get that particular situation worked out. So bear with us, and thank you again, Freedom Fighter. Mary Martin, I'll try to get to your question if we can, but first we have to go to the phone lines, and we are at line number 1. Yes, sir. Line number 1. You are now on with Neely Fuller Jr. What is your question?
Well, how you doing? I have no question. I got Neely Fuller book. It's a great book.
Good.
Still a rookie, so I'm not. He has some things I have to work on.
Yes, sir.
I'm still learning, so it's some things and some
Yes,
issues I got to work on.
Good.
Name calling, so I feel like I got to work on some things. But his concept is good when he said it's an individual thing, and I feel like what he's saying, it's how we think and how we program, and I feel like we're programmed to think a certain way. Because I was trying to tell someone, it's like when you grow up in a community, you see someone will hurt you for a pair of sneakers, Michael Jordan sneakers, but then you think Michael Jordan really care about you. And I said, you got to say, I don't really think he cares. As long as he getting his economics on, he getting his money on, it really doesn't matter to him, even though if he's from that. But I'm gonna stop that. But the masses are hurting.
Okay.
So what you see in Baltimore, they're hurting in Detroit, and you got to ask yourself, these cities and these big, larger cities, which I'm not from, but I say that's the majority where people of non-color live, and then the jobs have taken it's a reason why those jobs are not there.
Okay.
And we don't understand that why where we're at right now, because we see that, we'll say,
okay,
let's hope for the Lord. How you going to hope for jobs when they're not there and someone controlling they took them?
I got you. Hey, listen, I can't take too much more of time here, but thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comment. Please, callers, when you call in, I know you have a lot to say, and we only have a certain amount of allotted time that we have, so try to condense your questions so we can try to get everybody on and read the emails. Okay. Line number 2, what is your question for Mr. Neely Fuller Jr.? You are now on. Go ahead.
Good morning. How are you?
Good.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, good morning. I actually have a question. I have a question, and I also...
Okay, make it quick because we're up against the clock.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Well, my question is, in his book, he states in male and female relationships that it's an equal partnership. And my logic, from when I'm breaking down, listening to Neely Fuller, and logic in the universe shows that in the animal kingdom, in any other relationship, there's always a power structure of masculine and feminine energy on what the man is role is supposed to do, and what the woman's role is supposed to do. So my question to Mr. Neely Fuller is, do he believe in roles in relationships?
Okay. Does he believe in role in relationship? Wait a minute. Hold tight. Mr. Fuller, before we go, they're making me do this. You're listening to the compensatory concept, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, radio the way it should be heard. If you would like to call in, you can by calling 1-877-932-9766, or you can Gmail me at 7mrbobby@gmail.com. And please, I'm going to ask everybody again, please condense your question so that you can get a chance to answer it, or else I will have to cut you off, and I don't want to do that. So, condensingly, sir, what is your question for him now? Your first part of your question?
Okay, my first part of my question is just basically, just to sum it all up, do he believe in male and female relationships?
Okay.
People who are classified as non-white, do they have a role, meaning a masculine role and a feminine role? Because in his book he says that
Let Mr. Fuller respond to that, please. Go ahead, Mr. Fuller.
Well, by role, you mean just codification, a way of getting things done. And for prisoners of war, which is what non-white people are in the system of white supremacy, all prisoners of war are equal. So, they're prisoners. And they have to answer to the warden of the prison, which are all of the white supremacists who are on the planet. That's who you answer to. So therefore, between males and females, there is no master, and they're in that relationship. It's not even a relationship; it's an arrangement.
Mm-hmm.
Non-white males and non-white females just have an arrangement as prisoners.
Okay.
So they are equal partners in their being prisoners, because all prisoners are equal.
Okay. And the second part of your question, sir?
And the second part, well, I just seeking advice because now what I ran into, because as I break down and try to understand words, and when I'm dealing with specifically like intellectuals, I find that they get offended that when I start questioning a lot of things that they're saying. So I'll maybe asking Mr. Neely Fuller if he can try to, do he have any advice to tell me, like, how do I deal with a person who gets frustrated from me trying to ask questions on what they mean by what they're saying?
Okay.
Has he run into any of those problems?
Okay, and thank you for your call. Mr. Fuller?
Thank you.
All problems are solved through the process of questions and answers, so you have another question to that person. You'll say, what questions do you not want me to ask you? What is it that I'm not supposed to discuss with you when I talk to you and get an understanding? Everything comes from understanding. And the process for getting an understanding is to get the correct questions and the correct answers.
Okay.
So if a person objects to your line of questioning, you might say, you'll just say, okay, what is it you don't want me to ask questions about? And we'll talk about the things that you do want to talk about.
Yes, sir.
And we won't talk about the things that you don't want to talk about.
Okay.
But you have to tell me.
Okay. So hopefully that will be your answer. Let's go to the Gmail. It says, Mr. Fuller, this is from Lamont. He says, why do some black people always say, pray to Jesus, quoting, Jesus will take care of it, end of quote. And those people get mad when I say their white Jesus, looking at the picture on the wall, didn't stop slavery. It was just refined. And he may not stop what's going on now. Is that a correct assumption, or am I the one confused? This is from Lamont.
Here again, I'm going to say all problems are solved through the process of questions and answers. So if a person says something, I always say that people should practice their religion. So if a person says, well, Jesus will solve my problems, then you go into the question mode. Okay, so I will accept your remark that Jesus will solve your problem, and then I have a question. Is it anything that Jesus wants you to do on a daily basis in the 9 areas of activity? Is it anything that you are supposed to be doing, even if you're not taking direct instructions from Jesus? Since you say Jesus will solve your problems, but is there anything that you will be doing while Jesus is solving your problems? See what I mean? That's a question.
Okay.
See what I mean? And let the person tell you.
Okay.
You say, well, the roof needs fixing today. You said Jesus will solve that problem, but is it anything that Jesus wants you to do as far as helping him to fix the roof today? That's a question.
Yeah.
You don't argue with the person.
Yes.
About whether Jesus is white or non-white or male or female, or if Jesus, don't argue with people about their religion. Just expect them to practice their religion, but you can ask questions about the roof being fixed.
Okay.
That's all. Stick to business.
All righty. Another question from M. Martin. She said that it has been said the reason for all murders of blacks have something to do with organ or possibly melanin stealing. It is also said that a stem cell research has something to do with prolonging life for white people on the planet. My question is, are white people really from this planet, or were they manifested by Satan? I know of no other groups who go to that extreme of genetic survival. Mr. Fuller?
I don't know. In answer to that question, I don't know. I do not know the origin of white people or the origin of non-white people, because I do not know the origin of the universe or what the Creator had in mind, the Creator of the universe had in mind for creating the universe. I don't know the answer to those questions. There are some theologians who can probably tell you exactly why the Creator created everything that you're looking at, including white people and non-white people, or allowed these things, or creatures, or things, or the things in, trees, rocks, oceans, to be here. What is it all for? I do have an idea that what my job is, since I am here, and that is to solve problems because I have problems. That's the conclusion I've come to.
Yes, sir.
But now, why all these, what is created and what it was created for, I don't know.
Okay. All righty. Let's go to line number one. Line number one, what is your call for Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr.?
Hello?
Yes.
Yes. In the area of politics, I would like for Mr. Fuller to give an example how this system of white supremacy supersedes, I guess, the political labels of Democrat and Republican.
Okay. Did you hear that, Mr. Fuller?
No, I didn't.
Could you speak up, sir?
Yes, I would. Yes, in the area of politics, I would like for Mr. Fuller to give an example of how white supremacy supersedes the labels of the Democrats and Republicans.
Okay. Mr. Fuller?
How did white supremacists get the labels of Democrats and Republicans? Was that the question?
He wants an example. You want an example of what, sir?
Yes, I want an example of, Mr. Fuller says that white supremacy is the most powerful political idea, so I want an example of how white supremacy has become more powerful than the Democrats and the Republicans.
Okay. Mr. Fuller?
Well, the white supremacists don't care anything about people, whether people are Democrats, Republicans, communists, socialists, capitalists, male, female. They don't care about any of that. These are just labels to the white supremacists. The white supremacists care about one thing. That's white supremacy. In other words, what is white supremacy? It's racism. And what is racism? It means people who are classified as white, dominating and mistreating people who are classified as non-white.
Mistreating, yes.
In all areas of activity, 24/7, all over the planet. And that's all. These other things, Republicans and Democrats, that doesn't mean anything to a white supremacist. White supremacists say, is white supremacy in business or not? Do we dominate non-white people? That's all we care about. Are we in position to dominate and mistreat non-white people 24/7 all over the planet at any given moment?
Okay.
And if we have that position, we don't care about all these labels about anything. Anybody can walk around and call themselves anything, as long as we have that in position.
Okay.
That's the only thing that matters.
All right. Thank you very much for your call. Listen, and many of you have done this, but you need to get the publication, The United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept, a textbook workbook for thought, speech, and or action for victims of racism, white supremacy. It's by Neely Fuller, Jr. My understanding is you can get the book after June. After June. You can't get it right now.
No, after the first week in June.
After the first week of June. Okay. That's when
ProduceJustice.com you can get it.
At ProduceJustice.com. That's when you can get the book. Okay. Let's go to the phone lines. What line, Galen? Line number 3. You are now on with Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr. What is your question quickly, please?
All right, Mr. Fuller, my question is producing a system of justice realistic?
Okay. Is it realistic? Thank you very much for your call.
Is the what now?
Is the producing of the system of justice realistic? Is it realistic? And looking at a guy that looks just like Blake Griffin. Go ahead.
Yes. According to logic, and because you have injustice, and injustice is a poison, and for every poison there's an antidote. So what would be the antidote to the poison of non-justice? It would be justice.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what is justice? It means guaranteeing that no person is mistreated and guaranteeing that the person that needs help the most gets the most constructive help. Now, it's never been done, but lots of things had never been done until what? Until they were done. So I believe that justice can be produced.
Okay.
Because people have produced non-justice. But there is a concept called justice. People talk about it all the time. They preach about it. They say that they'd like to have it.
But you codified it.
Well, people, for one thing, they didn't give it a definition.
Right.
And then another thing, people have never really been serious about producing it.
Right.
And I think that all we need to do is just get serious about producing justice.
Okay.
Guaranteeing that no person is mistreated and guaranteeing that the person that needs help at any given moment gets the constructive help that is needed.
And that's the definition that Neely Fuller Jr. gave it. Is that correct?
Yes, I made up that definition
Yes.
because they never had a definition for justice.
Okay.
I didn't find that out until 1994. And I said, well, no wonder you can't get it because you won't know when you got it or when you don't have
Okay.
it because you don't have a definition for it.
You don't have a definition.
Right.
Okay. Let's go to line number, what is that, 2 or what? Line number 2. What is your question for Neely Fuller Jr.?
All right, can I be heard?
What is your question for Neely Fuller Jr.?
Hi. Yes. Mr. Neely Fuller said that the white supremacy controls education. Is there a way around their system of education?
Is there a way around their system of education? Okay. Mr. Fuller?
Yes, education is just what is the word education? It just means learning anything. It's just a process. Education is just a process of learning everything about everything or everything about one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you learn everything about one thing, you're learning everything about everything because everything is connected. See, so education is just a process of learning, basically, in a practical sense, how to solve problems. That you can say that an educated person is a person that knows how to solve all problems, which means there's no such thing as an educated person because all people are limited in their knowledge and understanding of how to solve problems.
Mm-hmm.
So what you do is just look at the system of racism and say, okay, racism is a form of system of mistreatment of people.
Mm-hmm.
And you educate people on how to practice racism. You learn how to do it, and then you do it. You do what you've learned. Well, people can be taught how to undo.
How to undo. Listen,
That's
Mr.
all.
Fuller, I'm up
Right.
against the wall. They're jumping on me, so they want me to for you to make a comment on your book, how you can get it, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yes, you can go to producejustice.com along about the first week or right after the first week of June. That's producejustice.com. And what will come up on the screen is a method for ordering the basic book and the word guide that is a companion book in addition to the basic book.
Is there a name for that word guide, or is it the same thing?
It's called the Counter-Racist Codified Word Guide.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And both books are on that website.
Right.
And a brief description and the method for ordering. That's producejustice.com.
Okay. By the way, Mr. Fuller, I want you to hang on. Or rather, I'm going to call you back after the show. I have a question that somebody asked me to ask you off air. So I'm going to call you after the program ends. Okay. Thank you for listening.
And thank you, and thank you, and thank you. And everybody is welcome.
Everybody's
I want to make
welcome.
that clear, including to white supremacy.
That's right.
They're welcome.
Okay.
I want their opinions too.
Okay. Talktainmentradio.com, the world's greatest radio, and radio the way it should be heard.
Thanks for listening to The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio.
The most important question in all racial matters is why. One should always ask it.
Radio, the way it should be heard.
You've got the power, the world's greatest radio. TalkTainmentRadio.com.